And elsewhere, the security docket has been allocated 338.2 billion shillings in the financial year 2023-24, 20 billion shillings more compared to the last financial year. The Kenya Defence Forces has been allocated the lion's share in the security docket at 145 billion shillings, which is 16 billion more compared to the last financial year. The National Intelligence Service has lost 2 billion in this year's budget, raising questions on whether the slash will affect the operations in the wake of the emerging security challenges, including Al-Shabaab attacks. NTV's Melita Oletenges reports.
The Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Interior and National Administration have been allocated 338.2 billion shillings to be shared among different departments. The Kenya Defence Forces has been allocated 144.9 billion, the National Intelligence Service 44.3 billion, National Police Service 98.6 billion, and the Kenya Prison Service 31.3 billion. Other allocations in the Security Department include 8.6 billion shillings for leasing government vehicles, 500 million shillings for modernizing police equipment, 856 million for equipping the National Forensic Library, and 534 million retained by the KDF for their housing. In comparison to the last budget, Kenya Defence Forces has been allocated 16 billion shillings more. 2 billion has been slashed from the National Intelligence Service, while the National Police Service and the Kenya Prison Service combined have been allocated 7.7 billion shillings more.
His Excellency the President appointed a task force to review the terms and conditions of police, prisons and National Youth Service. We shall be presenting a funding proposal to this House once the discussions are concluded and adopted within the government. Mr. Speaker, other proposed allocations include 2.9 billion for group personal insurance for police and prison services and Kenya shillings 5.8 billion for medical insurance for police and prison services.
The executive has been allocated 2.2 trillion shillings, which includes allocations to the different ministries, while the National Assembly and the Judiciary have been allocated 40.6 billion and 22.9 billion shillings respectively. The slash in the National Intelligence Service budget by 2 billion shillings raises concerns on whether it will hamper the operations of the service, a concern raised by members of Parliament when the budget estimates were presented in Parliament in February, at a time when the Al-Shabaab militia have launched a series of attacks in the north. Melita Oletenges, NTV.